welcome to this breakdown of Jamal Adams, the safety turned linebacker, the former first round pick of the New York Jets, played for the Seattle Seahawks, now in this kind of third phase of his career with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he's playing a more true linebacker role, and it's really exciting to see what type of things he is capable of in this position. So for starters, we're going to start with his pass coverage play, which as a former safety you would expect to be of a significant quality, and it truly is. So here we're looking at him, number 33, dropping into an underneath zone coverage. When you look at his responsibility in the context of the defense, he is really isolated here on the tight end Chigakonkwo. So he has got to, and you can see Cam Ward's eyes are trained on Okonkwo here and about to deliver the ball out into the flat. He's got to make a really disciplined play here, both to restrict the amount of yardage but also to make the closing tackle, and you just see that burst. So when you compare him to other linebackers, we rate him as having very good speed, which is probably almost an understatement. He's got rare speed for the linebacker position if we're just really comparing him to linebackers. Yeah, he floats across different categories, but when we're looking at his pure linebacker play, here that closing speed, very few are even going to come close to that. And you see a very secure tackle, gets his arms wrapped around the leg to really close that play out. Next play. So here we see the drop, and this is where, so we've, particularly in Seattle, we saw him operating a lot more around the line of scrimmage and being very comfortable in this kind of edge role. Here with the Raiders, he's doing that, but also operating more in traditional off-ball linebacker alignments. Here we see him back on that edge role, and he's going to drop out into this space here. Kind of similar to the previous play, as the play opens up, the routes carry the coverage downfield. He's got to pick up the running back Swift here out of the backfield, and again, he's got quite a lot of ground to cover here. So if you set him up against a traditional linebacker here, this is a mismatch. The running back could easily get around the corner, and that first down marker could potentially be in danger. But what I love about Jamal Adams here in this situation is he's keeping the depth, so he's making sure that these concepts are harder to get over the top. So this particular downfield route is an open for Caleb Williams to find, but then he has the closing speed to then immediately, and now the pass and the connection isn't kind of ideal, but the fact that he's able to make this play, close it out for a very limited gain, only 3 or 4 yards, and that's because of that closing speed and that real direct flying to the football mentality, which has just completely personified Jamal Adams' play style throughout his college and NFL career. So here we get to see a bit of the good and the bad in action. So let's just wheel that back. So here we have him here, just starting out here, just aligned slightly to the outside of the tight end. He is the 7th in the box defender if the run comes to the left-hand side of the attack. So here we see a screen play. Very basic, but what he does, he really does a good job of working off the running back block using his length. Now, really should signify why he's perfectly suited to playing this style of position. So Jamal Adams, despite having quite a light frame, again, if you're comparing against the linebackers, he has a big frame if you're comparing him against the safeties. But when it comes to linebackers, he has what we've classed as very good length. He has 33 and a 3/8 inch arms, which is fantastic for a linebacker, and you can see that coming into action here. He uses that to push off, but also has that quickness and speed, as you would expect from a former safety, to make a closing burst on the ball carrier. Now, some of the bit of the bad is that chaotic nature, which played so well on the previous clip, ended up resulting in a missed tackle, and we've seen that again throughout his career, is that inability to sometimes just make the sensible closing play. But you love that chaotic spirit, and more times than not it works out. This is an example of where you get to see a bit of the good and a bit of the bad as he closes out that play. So here again, it's about the tackling side of things. Again, beautiful drop into that spot. He clearly sees where that play is going. Now, I'm sure he would like to have some of this concept back. I would imagine if he's being really reflective about his assignment here, he would have liked to have got a little bit tighter, a little bit sooner. Now, he has, like with all underneath coverage, you have to pay attention to the routes coming underneath, over the top, because if you give up too much space, you open up a throwing window for the quarterback. So he has to play with enough depth. He can't be right here from moment go. So he has to play that game. But here you'd probably want to just move a little bit quicker. You see a little bit of a stutter step in that back pedal. And then it almost gets too tight. So his quickness and acceleration almost gets him too tight to the receiver and allows him to potentially be turned here. And this is exactly what happens. And you get another of those missed tackles. So it's one of those situations where because he has this athleticism, he allows more of a cushion and he plays a greater role in restricting the downfield routes. But also it gets him too close and allows him to be beaten. Because he's always trying to make the tackle for as least amount of yardage as possible, it does open these type of plays up. Still, these are types of athletic plays most linebackers will not be capable of. So you've got to take the rough with the smooth sometimes. So now let's transition to the run game. And here we have him playing a true off-ball linebacker role. He's playing over the guard, responsible for that BC area. And here we get to see where that speed is just purely devastating. And we'll take it to the end zone angle. Few players can make this style of play from the linebacker position. Just watch this shoot. It's so quick. We have him again rated as very good speed and acceleration and burst. Few players can offer that. Closes the play out and ultimately restricts any potential gain after contact. And here again we see that speed coming into action. So this is a perimeter run. It looks like some kind of power concept to the left hand side with some pulling linemen. What he does really well, again aligned over the box, or more aligned over the tight end here, is he reads that play really well and decides to make a real team play call. It goes right to the outside of the pulling lineman and forces that play back inside. Now, it goes to show sometimes you don't need to be technically pure when you're playing in this type of kind of situation. You don't need to stack shed always. If you can get to the outside and turn the ball back, then you allow your teammates to come and make the play. Few linebackers, again, could make that type of play. If we look at it from the end zone angle, he's just going to come into picture here. Is that quickness to get to that left side of the blocker, which enables this whole thing to happen. Yeah, he could have taken him on straight up and maybe made the play himself, but sometimes you don't need to. The inspiration to get around and turn that play back inside has killed that concept because he knows he has his guys following in him behind. Now, when we get into this aggressiveness, it goes two ways. As often it does, and we've seen it in the pass game, now we'll see it in the run game. Here we have him aligned back over the right tackle here, and he's going to make a shoot inside. Now, the fact that he has the athleticism to touch the ball carrier here is remarkable. What we will say is that he shouldn't have put himself in that situation to begin with. Yeah, he's allowed to be very inventive and really to trying to break the lines. But at this point here, he should be able to read that this is a toss coming inside. It's unlikely that it's going to be a counter back inside. It's possible from his vantage point, which he's here. At this point, he should really stop and bail back over the top. Yeah, he wants to come and make an explosive play inside, and yes, he has the athleticism to do so. I don't know, but I imagine the defensive coordinator would have preferred that in this particular situation, where it looks, for all intents and purposes, that the run is popping out to the right-hand side, just play a bit more patient, come back over the top, and use your athleticism to make that play. Here we get to see some of his action at the point of attack, and this would be the key thing that you would doubt when moving Jamal Adams, who's a 215-pound guy, at least that was at the combine, or before he was drafted, that kind of size type of character. That's probably where they will struggle, is right at the point of attack in the run game, taking on blockers, being able to move shed. them as you progress. Now he has the length to be able to work and operate better than most linebackers, so that gives him an advantage. But here you get to see the pure size and just raw power issue. It's not a huge issue, and you don't see it on every single play, but here he's matched up against a tight end here, number 81, and the concept's coming his way, and while he holds enough of the ground, it's not a devastating loss. You would just like there to be a bit more of composure, a bit more balance, a bit more force back inside, and maybe that play could just have been mitigated a little bit, maybe a few yards could have been taken off it. Again, not a devastating result. Now we want to cover to one of his more dynamic areas, and if you just categorized him as a linebacker, I think it would be fair to call him the most dangerous blitzer and pass rusher that there is in the NFL, and here is an example. So here we see him at the bottom of the screen. Here we have him here, and he's going to come blitzing off the edge here, and that speed is dynamic. It's really aggressive. We get to see it here on this next clip, where we get to see it tied in with the short area quickness. So here we have him at the top of the screen. He's going to cut back inside versus the left tackle, plays a bit of a stunt roll, and Daniel Jones is no slouch, let's make that clear, and he is chasing him down with that hunting instinct, that aggressiveness that, as we've said before, personifies his play. So that sums up this breakdown. I think he is one of the most interesting and intriguing linebackers, and I think he brings a new breed to that third linebacker role versus heavy sets. He can play a bit of corner, he can play a bit of safety, he can play linebacker. He is the true joker on defense, and I purely love this next wave of his Jamal Adams' career. He's one of the more exciting defensive players to watch right now. Go check out his profile on League site as well to see our full breakdown of him. Thanks very much for the time being.